Hello and welcome to this episode of the Business Spotlight. Today we are joined by Jon Bliss. Hi, Jon.
Hey Mark, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, an absolute pleasure. So Jon's joining us from DEROSA Music. We're going to find out a little bit more about Jon and a little bit more about his business. But for those of you that are joining us for the first time, what is the Business Spotlight? So the Business Spotlight, it's an opportunity for you to find out a bit more about business. And if you're already in business or thinking about getting into business or even starting that entrepreneurship journey. So we're going to interview Jon. He's going to give us some of the snippets into his life, his business life, and what he's achieved and some of the challenges that have come along the way. So Jon, if you could just kick things off for us by letting us know who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for.
No worries. So I'm Jon. I'm managing director and owner of DEROSA Music. I've been in the industry for around 25 years. My specialism is bringing retail and education together. So in our headquarters, for instance, in Bishop Stortford, we teach over 500 people every week, as well as having a shop. And then around a year and a half ago now, I decided to franchise my business model. And so within a year and a half, we now have 6 locations off the back of deciding, right, okay, this is the right kind of roadmap for education within music, and then a small shop. The shop feeds the school and the school feeds the shop.
Wow. Wow, double wow. That's amazing. Well, thank you very much for letting us into that sort of a little snippet there. So I want to peel back the layers a little bit now, Jon. So I don't know, is there anybody else out there that does what you do? And if they do, what makes you different?
No, there isn't anyone else out there. I think what makes me different is I did study music at Canterbury University. So I've got an element of education within me. My very first job was in a small town called Deal, just off of Dover. And I remember going there and I started to be a piano demonstrator, so selling pianos. And I was good. I was a really good salesman. And even to the point when I was a student, I used to do booking appointments for double glazing. So I'll be on the phone, I'll be selling appointments. All of a sudden, I'm in a music arena and I'm having to sell pianos. It was a small company, about 6 or 7 shops at the time, UK wide. And I had a chance, the Idle Home Show. I don't know if you ever went to it. It's the forum for the very best salespeople at the hard end of sales. So if you do a pitch, generally you've only got about the energy for 10 pitches throughout the day. And if you get a chance to do a pitch and you don't convert that customer, the next guy will do. And within the company, it was very clear that this one guy called David, he was number one. He was the guy that I had to kind of like, right, okay, I'm going for this. That year, I doubled his sales. I doubled it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm good at this. I can do this. Slowly but surely, I worked my way through the company and I actually became managing director by the time I was 27. So I had this musical side, but I had this love of small business and how it worked. I wasn't particularly liked because I was only 27 and I was the boss of like 40, 50 people, but I was there, I was doing it, and it kind of set me up for where I am now. So that was probably about 5 or 6 years of my early days. I opened a shop in Bluewater Shopping Centre. And so when you're dealing with people like that and negotiating a lease on that level, when it then becomes localized within what I do now, you've forgotten what you already know. And so you'll find these various questions are fired at you and you've got them. So my point of the 25 years experience and then going into having a franchise, for the guys who've bought a franchise, it's awesome because they're not going to make the mistakes that I made over the last 25 years. And it's kind of a win-win, because they're catapulted to a point where they can really succeed, often within year one, off the back of all of those years' experience. So I'm very fortunate, because as I've kind of grown into my business, various peers within the industry have also been promoted. And so one of the key factors, I think, is that who you can call when you need to, depending on what's going on. So I feel I'm really unique in my industry, in the music industry. There's very few people that have got the retail experience, the educational experience, and then the entrepreneurialism to bring it together, to kind of glue it. And that's where I'm at.
Wow, that is another amazing share. I love the way that you just summarized it at the end there, that your uniqueness is with your knowledge of retail, your education, and entrepreneurship. It just summarized it and sort of personified exactly what you've just said. So thank you very much for that share there. That's brilliant, Jon. So what's the journey been like? I mean, you've mentioned sort of you've gone into franchising now. So just take us back to the beginning when you sort of started the business, and just a bit of a whistle-stop tour and bring us up to speed of, you know, where you are now.
Sure. So I was, as I said, I was managing director for this chain of stores, and we were in the process of potentially selling a number of stores to a much, much bigger company. I was in the office with the guy who owned the much, much bigger company, and he's a very well-known guy in my industry and very, very wealthy. And so I'm like, he said to me, he said, why don't you work for me? He said, because it's going to take you years to get anywhere near what we do. At that point, I flipped. I thought, if you think I can do it, I'm going to do it for myself. And at that point, I then went out on my own. I bought one of the shops off of the company I was working for at the time, and haven't looked back since. The journey kind of went to the left and to the right a little bit. We had fantastic shop. We expanded, but all in one location. And then I did something that no one else has ever done. And I turned our retail shop into a full-time college. So it was fully funded by government for 16 to 18-year-olds. So I kind of moved away from my retail roots a little bit, and all of a sudden we were being Ofsteded, and it was like, whoa, okay, this is a whole new arena. And it was really tough, because I was pitching to the very highest level, to principals, vice principals, trying to get 250 to 300 pound type contracts, knowing full well, if I didn't get it, I'm going to have to let people go. So that was probably the top end of pressure. I then went through a divorce. And I say that in a professional way because it was huge. It was an absolute game changer in life, because it hurt. It was dark. How am I going to see my girls? And what I was able to do is buy the now shop, which is DEROSA Music, off of my best friend. It used to be ours, but we'd separated company. So all of a sudden, I'd gone back to having a small retail shop and a small school, but it gave me time to heal. And it also gave me time to have my children 3 nights a week, every single week. And it's been like that for the last 8-9 years now. So I would say I'm a very hands-on parent, because I have my girls 3 nights a week, every week. And over the years, I was getting stronger. I had this wealth of experience, whether or not it's retail or education, where I kind of like, okay, I'm going up into gear 3 now. Okay, I can do this. Let's gear 4. Let's do it. And I built the school from a couple of hundred pupils up to 500, which is, we peter between 500 to 600 pupils every week. And we've got a lovely little shop in a grade 2 listed building. And it was about 1.5 years ago, and I just thought, how can I monetize everything that I've learned over the years. You know, I love what I've got. It's wonderful. But what I don't want to do is open another one. So the managing director of Yamaha, once upon a time, he said to me, he said, John, your first one, you'll blow it away. He said, because you'll be there, you'll be driving it. He said, the second one, it's going to cost you a lot of money, number one. But number two, it will only do 75% of what the first one did, because it'll be staff in that store, not owner-driven business. He said, and then you'll see the same with the third, you'll see the same with the fourth, you'll see the same with the fifth. And that resonated with me, and it kind of stuck with me. And when I was kind of trying to come up with this idea of monetizing the experience, I just thought, well, actually, we know that business run by their owners are the most successful in SME. So for small businesses where the boss is there, it's going to be successful. And I went with that. I thought, you know what? Franchise. Let's come up with a really cool franchise idea. I kind of don't like the word franchise because it reminds me of my double glazing selling days, but it's there. It's a business model, and I'm absolutely loving the journey because I'm seeing these people just exceed beyond what even I thought that they would be able to do. So one of our locations is DEROSA Music in Crayford. That's Crayford, Kent. He's gone from about 250 pupils. He's now on 450 pupils since becoming a franchise, and now has a fully operational retail shop that he just didn't have before. And I'm loving it. It's exciting. And we've just opened one in Saffron Walden in Essex. So that's DEROSA Music Saffron Walden. And again, this guy, he worked for me for quite a few years. And he has grown up and he's taken the opportunity. And it's like I'm not a boss. It's like there isn't a hierarchy. All of a sudden, you've got these people that are in a mutually beneficial kind of a line. It's a very flat line. And everyone is bouncing off each other. You've got new ideas, new branding ideas. You've got new marketing ideas. And it's brilliant. It's such a good journey. And to be honest, I think I may even have 10 by the end of the year. And I also think it kind of revolutionizes what music retail is. And the key of that is education. So the parent is my customer. It's not about little Johnny having a wonderful piano lesson. It's about Johnny having a wonderful piano lesson, but making sure mum and dad are part of that journey. And they're not monetized because they don't know what that journey is. And I see it time and time again. I have different people come and see me and they've been monetized. Even myself, my daughter went to ballet. She was going there 3 times a week, every week. And I was like, that's okay. I'll invest in this, darling. You know, you're committed, you're practicing. And we got to the Christmas and she said, Dad, it's not for me, but musical theatre is. I'm like, that's such a grown-up thing to be able to be self-analytical, to be able to say musical theatre. And I went to the ballet school and I said, look, I'm really sorry, but she's not going to rejoin. We need to leave. Okay, they said, Mr. Bliss, well, you've got to pay a term's notice. And I'm like, you want me to pay a term of 3 lots of lessons every week, and my daughter doesn't want to come anymore? A month, I'll take that. I'll take that on the chin. That's reasonable. And I use that as a great example of trying to monetize a parent. So music education and retail is actually all about parents and the kids and the hobbyist. It's not about the massive brands like Gibson, Marshall, Fender. It's about this circle of customer having a great retail experience, and for either a child or the adult to start a musical journey and to make it absolutely second to none.
Yeah. Wow. fantastic share, and what a journey that you've been on so far. I mean, like you said, you've been in the music industry for 25 years, so there was a lot to fit in there, yeah?
Tried the best I could.
Brilliant. Okay, well, so let's look forward now then, Jon. I mean, what would you say are going to be, you know, for the business and yourself, what are going to be your biggest challenges going forward?
Okay, so there's two things there. Number one, if I'd gone down the road of expanding, it absolutely would have been about money. But because I'm bringing the franchise model and I'm going down that road, it's actually not about capital investment, because with the franchise model, it's basically money coming in, it's not money going out. So my biggest concern is getting it to a point where it's too big just for me. And then I know I'm going to have to build an additional kind of team or a tier to help kind of manage it. And, you know, at the moment I've got fantastic people around me, and it's kind of like, I was listening to a Steve Bartlett podcast, and it was about having disagreeable givers around you. So people that you can absolutely trust, that say, Jon, you're going a bit too far there. That's a bit out there. You need to kind of pull the reins in a little bit. So I've got 2 or 3 of those that are kind of like my sounding boards. But that, I think, is key. It's having a team of people that can handle the kind of growth that we're looking at. I've already implemented, so all of our teachers have to go through a stage 1 teaching qualification before they teach for us, as an example. So we need to keep an eye on the quality control. But yeah, long term, if we keep going and if we keep getting bigger and bigger, it's going to be that team of people.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's quite a common thing about not just building the team, but building the right team and having the right people in the right positions within said team.
It can't be yes people. It just can't be, because otherwise everyone's like, yes, Jon, yes, Jon, yes, Jon. And as I've got wiser and older, back in the day when I was 27, and I was so sure of myself, you know, it's like, yeah, I've got this. I'm not like that now. I'm a lot more, okay, let me listen. Let's solve that problem. And also, because my company is music, we have so much well-being and so much kind of pastoral care almost that comes into the business and with what we do. You know, musicians are very prone to mental health issues. We have various stories of where we've absolutely helped parents along the road. COVID was pretty tough, but it was tough for everyone. And there were a couple of my tutors that worked for us that red flagged. I had to make sure I kind of called them, just checking in. So all of that, it's not just about making money. It has to be about the right team. What's your product? Where are you going with that? What's the well-being element? How much do we affect a community? We affect communities massively. You know, even if you look at the Bishop Stortford, where we have 500 people coming into town every week, what are they going to do for half an hour? Well, they're going to go and shop in Waitrose, or they're going to go and have a coffee. You know, we generate income in a town, but then we have like I said, this pastoral element where we can help people and kind of rebuild people to kind of get back onto life's wonderful journey.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely phenomenal, and such a great share. Well, there was a lot of great shares in there. And I think one of the things that definitely resonated with me, and I think you mentioned it, was Stephen Bartlett, that mentions about having disagreeable givers around you and surrounding yourself with those types of people is a great share. So thank you very much for that.
One of the best ones is my sister. My older sister. Yeah, she tells me and she sees it, definitely.
Siblings are always good for that. Siblings are always good for that.
Yeah.
So, Jon, moving on to yourself then as the business owner, I mean, what would you say, and I should imagine over that period of time there's been a few, but what would you say has been the biggest lesson that springs to mind for you personally?
it's so many different elements that you can look at. But do you know what? I think over the last 5 to 10 years, especially with COVID, recession, double dip recession, I think one of the major things that I've learned is how much you can help people. It's just phenomenal. I mean, we've got some really wealthy people that have lessons with us, and their children do. Unfortunately, some of those people during COVID, they fell hard. They fell really hard. Similar to where I've gone through a divorce, I've got like this radar when a customer comes in. It's like, okay. Generally speaking, what I will do is I will continue those lessons, because for me, that music education could be the one thing that that adult or that child, especially in COVID, they had this routine over and above anything else, where they still had a drum lesson, they still had a guitar lesson, they still had that vent where they can kind of get things across. So yes, you've got the whole business model, but when you actually look at the effect on so many people, that my little business, you know, it's, I stand back, you know, and at times I'm just amazed at, because I'm not a yes person, I will reach out to people more so than what other people may do. But that's given me a different kind of confidence, because it's the right thing to do, because I have helped people off the back of reaching out. So it's taken all that salesmanship from when I was 18 upwards and just repackaging it, I think, with a bit more wisdom, a bit more time, and just caring, you know. And then the other stuff comes, you know, money does come. And when you own your own business, when it's good, it's absolutely brilliant. When it's bad, it's really tough. It's really tough. But
Yeah.
we're still here. I'm still here. You can keep going. And I tend to find that when it's your business, you become so resourceful in making sure that everyone's okay. And I don't think people see that in a business owner. I think often they see it, okay, they're the ones that drive the Porsche or the Rolls Royce, and that's not the case at all. They're often the people that get paid last. And that, I think, is part of what I've learned over the years, is just be humble, look after people that are kind of stakeholders in your own business, because they all are. You know, that all of the team are dedicated to what we do. And be nice. If you're nice, people will work with you. If you're not, it's hard.
Absolutely. And I think there's some really great lessons that you've just shared there. So thank you very much for that, Jon. I think, you know, just learning from what you said at the beginning there, from how much you can help people, it's such a key quality. And I think, you know, that for the audience today watching, that is a great share. So thank you very much for that. So talking of sharing, human me, if you will, I want to just, we're going to go back in time. Yeah, you know, whatever time machine, it could be a DeLorean, the flux capacitors there. We're going to hit 88 miles an hour, but we're going to be going back in time to meeting you, Jon, when you was 18 years old. Okay, I'm going to be with you. It's all right. And what you get to do is you get to give yourself one piece of advice, one golden nugget. What would it be?
Choose an industry. Choose an industry, because if you think of the music industry, it's not about me becoming a rock star. It's about me loving that industry. And so there's so many, the way that I was brought up, I don't know about you, you do your GCSEs, that you then do your A-levels, you then go off to university. I wasn't that great academically. I didn't really like my A-levels, except for the music one that I did. It did get me to go into university, to be fair, but nowadays there's so many different courses out there from FE colleges that can really engage with you over and above what the norm would be. And I find it quite frustrating, because often parents are ill-informed about what other courses are available for their child to go down. So if you think of the music industry, let's go to an Ed Sheeran gig. So you've got an artist, you've got artist liaison, you've got artist management, you've got marketing, you've got business management, you've got sales, front of house, you've got lighting, you've got sound engineering. You know, our industry is no different to any other industry. And there's so many different career paths that you can take. But I genuinely think if you want to be a builder, go to college and build. You know, start that journey. If you want to be a musician, okay, for some people, the academics, the A-level is the right thing to do. But if it's not for you, that's all right. But still go for the industry that you love and you think that you're going to immerse yourself in. And I really encourage people to do that because it's okay, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a really great piece of advice. And if only we had that DeLorean, eh?
Yeah, right.
So keeping it with yourself then, Jon, I mean, you really, I can tell just from chatting to you during this podcast that you're very passionate about what you do. But what is it that, you know, what's that fire in your belly? What is it that gives you that sort of kick, that fire every day to do what you do?
Without sounding the cliche, obviously family, money. I know that I've already built a legacy in a way because I've already affected probably tens of thousands of people on a musical journey. So I can't change that. Moving forward, I think I love the success, but how do you define success? I suppose is quite interesting. Someone once said to me, business is just problems. You just find solutions to problems. I tend to hope that it's a little bit more than that. But yeah, it's a tricky one. I know I'm motivated to succeed, but I'm so proud of what I am succeeding, not just for myself, but everyone. I want everyone to come on my journey because it's not just about me. It's about all of these people that deserve to be successful. They deserve to earn their money. They deserve to be proud of what they do. And when I start talking to some of my tutors, and you kind of, one guy, he was embarrassed about how much he'd invoiced me. And I said, mate, it's brilliant. I said, I'm so pleased for you. I said, because I'm earning money. And I said, you've worked really hard for that. And I said, we're winning. You know, let's keep going on that journey. The one thing I do have is I have a real bugbear in the monetizing parent thing. So bringing it away from the fluffy stuff. My industry is probably one of the most unregulated industries out there. So anyone who can play a few chords on a guitar can claim to be a guitar teacher without any form of checking, etc., etc. Now, I know that my music faculty of staff is just as good as any private or secondary school's faculty of staff, number one. They have music degrees, they have master's qualifications, but they choose not to do the mainstream education. They prefer being in an environment that we provide. So I know our quality's there. I know we're really good at what we do. But then when I see a little story.
Yeah.
I went to a primary school, and this was recently, and I walked around the school with the head teacher. I was in my salesmanship mode. I was showing him a PA system. I was like, yeah, this is it. And showed him. Took me to this room, lovely room, big room. He said, so this is going to be our music room. I looked around, I thought, brilliant. And then I saw a child and a piano teacher sitting on one of those little primary school chairs, you know, those really little diddy ones. And this child was having a lesson on this keyboard that was balanced between two of the primary school chairs. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, no, that can't be, that's a piano lesson, because that's so far away from what a piano lesson is all about. So I spoke to the head after. I said, do you realise that that's not right. He said, well, yeah, we know that, but, you know, they're still having music lessons, piano lessons. I said, but that's not a piano lesson. I said, that keyboard is not a piano. It could be an electric piano, and that's okay, but it's a keyboard. So there's no weight on the keys, which means your muscles aren't being developed in the right way. And I said, are parents paying? Oh, yeah, they all pay the proper rate for. And at that point, I'd never seen something so affirming on my journey of why I get so frustrated. Because just because that parent, like me with ballet, just because that parent doesn't understand what a piano lesson should be, they shouldn't be paying for something that is not right. And I think that that happens in various schools for various reasons. Don't want to be judgmental, but I do want to protect the parent, because that's not fair. That, you know, if you're spending £1,000 a year on your child having piano lessons and they're learning on a keyboard, I don't buy into that. That's not right.
Yeah, I think you've really sort of touched on a nerve there, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of the viewers today. So really, thanks for sharing on that one, Jon. Really appreciate that. So just to wrap things up, then, I mean, a lot of the people that are going to be watching this podcast are going to want to find out more about you and more about the business more. So what's the best way for them to do that, Jon? What's the best way for people to reach out, to get in touch, and to find out more about DEROSA music?
There's nothing I love more than showing people round my place in Stalford. So if ever you want to get in touch, just give us a ring, and I will call people back. Sometimes it can be quite hard to track them down, obviously, but you know, if you actually want to see what we do, I don't even care if it's a competitor. You know, just come and have a look. My doors are always open for people to come and have a look. And I think one of the key things that I've learned over the years is you will always learn something from someone. You don't just stop learning. And if there's another business that's in a completely different industry and the two of us sat down, we will both take something from that categorically. And those that think they already know it all, you're wrong. You don't. And I think that is the one thing. When I was younger, as I was coming out of university and I started working, I just questioned all of my peers that were much better at music than me, much more academic. Now I was ready to learn, you know. And so, yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch, if they want to know about the franchise, if they just want to come and see what we do, if they want to have a music lesson, you know, we've got the locations. You've got Crayford, Bromley, we've got Hertford, Saffron Walden, Bishop Stortford. We're going to be opening in Cambridgeshire soon. So, yeah, get in touch.
What's the best phone number or website for them, Jon?
Is derosamusic.co.uk. Best number 01279 465 155. Was that a little trick then? See if I'd remember the number.
Well, there was an element of it there, but it also makes it easier for people to just sort of jump on the phone, or sort of like, you know, just jump on your website, because it just makes it easier for people. But it was a little bit of a test just to see if you knew the number off the top of your head as well, Jon. Brilliant. Listen, Jon, it's been absolutely fantastic finding out more about you and more about your business. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Spotlight.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Been a pleasure. And to everybody watching, that's been a wrap. That's the Business Spotlight, and we'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye for now.